Hello and welcome to the Center for Victory podcast of Your Best Day Yet. Here at Center for Victory, we're here to help unlock, reinforce, and enrich relationships through personal and professional development. My name is Zack Del Turco. I'm an executive consultant here at the Center for Victory, along with Eric Guy, the Chief Victory Officer. Thanks for being back.
Yep.
So this month, the month of November, we're talking about this idea of gratitude, generosity, and being grateful. So let's go ahead and let's jump right in. And this is really coming from your new book that's coming out hopefully here in the next couple weeks. And it's all about giving. So let's start with this first question. What are the different ways somebody can give? And before you say something, I know what you guys are thinking. People's mind automatically goes to money.
Right.
So don't tune us off. So what are the different ways people can give?
Last time we discussed the benefits of giving, I believe it's a thing that can make you successful and happy in our lives. But one thing that we need to make sure we emphasize is if you're going to be that way in life, and we want everybody to be successful and happy and joyful, at least the folks we work with, giving's not optional. There are so many ways to give. A lot of people, like you said, think of money, resources. We shared a story last time how a smile, right? Everybody has something to give. It could be a warm smile. It could be baking cookies for somebody. It could just be doing some yard work for somebody, or it could just be spending time with them. Like, people are lonely, especially, we're getting into November around the holidays. People get lonely. It could just be, people that really don't have anybody else. It's giving of yourself. The best story that I can really think of is my wife. Here's a woman who years ago was done with her career. Said, I'm going to be done with my career. She's smarter than me. She's more intelligent than me. She's better looking than me. And she.
I agree.
Yeah. She just gave it. She gave that sacrifice of herself to her kids, so that our kids could grow up. They didn't have to, spend time, hours and hours in daycare. That she gave to them her knowledge. Thank goodness they didn't get mine, because they'd be failing, right? But she gave of her time, and she never had any qualms about that. She's got her master's degree. She's a phenomenal person, but you can tell that our kids have gotten that. It really, from what she gave, it wasn't necessarily about her money or her resources. It was about her time, her attention, and her affection for them. And they've really grown up to be great kids, and thank God she did that, because who knows where they'd be if So yeah, that's just a good story about how there's so many different ways out there to give. It just doesn't have to be time and or money and resources.
Yeah, and I heard a quote and someone say this before. I think it is true, but I want to get your thoughts on this. That where you give your time, your money, your resources, your talent, and your attention and energy says more about you than anything else. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I believe there is a lot of truth to that. Giving, it's in the book as well. Giving gets your attention off yourself and onto your purpose. If people always talk about, hey, I want to be purposeful, da, 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 da. They're not, because they're consumers. They're just out to get. And again, that's not to say that I'm being judgmental, right? We grow up in that culture, and sometimes we get that way. We get that scarcity mentality. We just want to hoard everything, and we just consume everything. But when you focus on your purpose, you need to be a giver if you're going to focus on your purpose, whatever it is. Like the example with my wife, if that was her purpose, to have some really good functional kids, which we have. And I'm not just saying it because they're my kids. They're wonderful kids. That was her purpose, and man, she fulfilled it big time. And she gave her time. They're late nights, doing homework, things like that. Taking, we live out in the middle of nowhere, so for my daughter to go to gymnastic lessons was a 45-minute ride one way, so that's an hour and a half she gave, then sat there for 3 or 4 hours, 4 nights a week, never complained about it.
Wow.
But, her purpose is being fulfilled in the lives of our kids now. But it does tell where your heart's at. You can tell that. And if you want you're going to have a purpose. You got to check your heart first. It's a hard thing, whether you're going to lead people, whatever you're going to do, whether it's business, personal, in the community, you do have to be a giver.
So good.
It's a requirement.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not optional.
So last question as we kind of finish up this podcast is, can you give too much?
Can you give too much?
Yeah.
I'm going to say no, right? And there's people out there that might argue with me. I don't think you can give too much if you have correct motives, right? And there are always people that will always take, and I'm not, but here's the deal. The more you give, the more you really get to experience life for what it is. I mean, it's meant to be great, it's meant to be joyful, and not that there aren't times that are sorrowful and bad and kind of sad and things like that. But when you're not consuming everything in your path, you're really creating. And you create, when you give, you just don't create an example, but you create a legacy for others to follow. And that's a huge point. When you're out there, when you're giving. I shared the story on our last podcast about my grandmothers. I mean, their example is playing out today, and and I see it in my kids. So I mean, it's going down 3-4 generations, and hopefully it will continue to go that way.
That's good. So as we finish up with this podcast, like we do every single week, give us some bullet points or action or highlights of what we talked about today. Okay,
a few that I have, but kind of off the top of my head. Number one, think about ways you can give. We talked about last time. Just start small. Make sure you check your motives around your giving. Right? Just don't hear this and say, "Well, I'll give and I'll get everything back." That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about doing it with a pure heart. Number 3, giving takes the attention off yourself and puts it on your purpose. And number 4, probably most importantly, is giving is not optional. If you want to be successful, if you want to be happy, if you want to be joyful and have success in your life, be a giver.
That's so good. And I want to leave you guys with this quote by Anne Frank. She said this: "No one has ever become poor by giving."
That's good stuff there.
So thank you guys so much for staying tuned. If you like what you heard, leave some comments in the section below. Also, you can share this with your friends. Also, hit that notification button where every time we post something new, you'll get notified that something has came up on our feed. Also, you can follow us at all social medias at Center for Victory. You can go to our website at centerforvictory.com. And we want to leave you with this. We say it every single week. Let's say it together. Wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, make this your best day yet.
See ya.